Isabella. We can't thank you enough for inviting us to this magnificent... Is this a tournament that you put together, my friends? It is absolutely magnificent, all the different stations you have. You must be very proud of your work. It's very excellent indeed. So we are, as we have said, from medieval times, and we're very pleased to be with you. So we're going to talk a little bit about a medieval tournament, because that is one of the things we do best, isn't it, Red Knight? Of course. So in the medieval tournament, there were many reasons why one would have a tournament. A coronation, the birth of an heir to the throne, to help determine the once and future champion of the realm. These are some of the reasons we would hold a tournament in our day. And the tournament consisted of many things. Fighting, competing in games, the knights would compete against one another, and of course, perhaps my favorite part of the tournament would be the feast. Now, when the tournament would come, the women would dress in their finest gowns. They'd often have belts made of jewels and capes fashioned from the most expensive of materials. During this time, families who were long separated by distance, they would reunite, exchanging news, arranging suitable marriages for their children, and of course, later, there would be minstrels and dancing. And now, my friends, one of the most favorite parts of the tournament, of course, would be the knights and their competition. So my dear friend, Erosh the Red Knight, is here to present the many weapons that he uses during the tournament.
Many weapons that a knight uses, and obviously the most famous is the sword. This is the two-handed sword, and this is the weapon that usually starts a knight's training. A lot of medieval weapons kind of came from farming tools. Many knights began as low-wage earning squires, and they didn't have much money to buy more extravagant weapons like an alabard or a halberd or such things. So they would come in with whatever tools they could. An axe generally would be what they first brought. And then those quickly turned into axes for chopping wood, into axes for cutting and maiming and chopping people's heads off. The mace came about because many priests weren't allowed to cut open a man's flesh. So to get around that, the warrior priests would have a mace, and before the Morning Star mace was made, it was just a big ball. And these warrior priests would basically just swing a big stick with a giant metal ball at the end, kind of to just, well, knock you out, and then hopefully you don't wake up after.
We have what you know as a flail. We call it in Spain a double bola.
Double bola. And this is the most interesting weapon. It was a farming tool like the axe, and it used to be a farming tool where they would just graze across the ground, and they would yank up weeds and stuff like that. Eventually, when it became a knight's weapon, they added these balls, and they kind of kept the chain and made it a little bit more sharper in certain areas, more for yanking people's heads off than pulling weeds out of the ground.